Today, I welcome. I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Nevada City Council to order. Today is Thursday, July 11th, and it is 5:30 p.m. We have one closed session item. We'll have the city attorney announce the closed session item, take any public comment on the item, and then recess to closed session.
Are we live?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are conference with legal counsel on anticipated litigation, significant exposure litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D2, one matter, and for further required supplemental disclosures on March 7th, 2024, the city attorney and city manager's office received what we perceive to be a credible and real threat of litigation titled Amy Freeman versus Nevada City. That's all I have to report.
Thank you. So we will recess to closed session somewhere over there.
See you in an hour.
call this meeting to order, and we open the meeting regularly. We're reconvening the meeting. Let's see, and we're into open session, return from closed session. Any report on closed session?
No reportable action, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All right, if I could, because I like your voice so much, Councilmember CC, would you read the Nisenan recognition?
Glad to. We acknowledge that the Nisenan people are still here among us today, though nearly invisible. We understand that we are on Nisenan land that was never ceded, and the original tribal families have yet to recover from the near genocide of their people. As a resident or visitor in Nisenan land, we support the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe in efforts to stabilize their people as well as their campaign to restore federal recognition.
Thank you, Councilmember. And tonight we will have Vice Mayor Klein, who is ascending through the ranks, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, no, I have to make it move. Somebody else doesn't do this. Okay. So roll call. We know that Councilmember Fernandez will not be with us this evening. So Madam Deputy Clerk, if you would call the roll, please.
Councilmember CC.
Here.
Councilmember Fleming.
Here.
Vice Mayor Klein.
Here.
And Mayor Peterson.
Here.
4 members present.
All right, thank you. All right, we will begin. Let's see. How are we going to do this? We're going to adopt the agenda. There we go. I'm a little new at this, but we'll figure it out and we'll get through it. So any agenda modifications? Any changes?
Recusals? No.
Okay. No recusals, no consent items to pull. So I'm looking for a motion and a second to adopt the agenda.
I move we adopt the agenda.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion by Councilmember CC and a second by Councilmember Fleming. Those in favor, any opposed? It passes. Okay, one way or the other, we'll get there. All right, so we are going to do a couple of things here. We have a presentation and we'll start that. I will turn it over to City Manager. Are we doing swearing in first or?
Thank you. Both. So for those in the audience and at home watching on TV or watching later back on your Betamax, if you still have one of those, every year in July, the Nevada City Council reorganizes a little different than the Board of Supervisors or Grass Valley. We're all on kind of different schedules that way. So we do it in July. And so we rotate the seats of mayor and vice mayor. And then also every 2 years, we elect council members. This year it happens that we elected 3 new council members, but no changes in faces because they're the same council members you've seen before. Councilmember Fleming, now Mayor Peterson, and former Mayor Fernandez, who's not with us this evening. So tonight the city officially recognizes Mayor Gary Peterson and Vice Mayor Adam Klein through their term June 30th, 2025. And then we'll also swear in Mayor Peterson and Councilmember Fleming for their new terms this evening. Councilmember Fernandez will swear in at a different time since she's not with us. And with that, I will hand it back to you, Mr. Mayor. Congratulations. And I believe Dean Pucci Esquire is doing the swearing in.
He will.
You ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
Are we doing it en masse or individually?
You want to do one at a time or you want to do?
You guys can both do it at the same time.
No, I'll let the mayor hold it.
All right, you guys raise your right hands. I state your name.
I state your
Gary
name.
Peterson.
Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and the
Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
that I take this
Maybe smaller chunks.
Obligation freely
Obligation freely.
without any mental reservation or purpose
I
of
don't know if I can
evasion.
say from mental reservation, but real reservation or purpose of evasion.
And that I will
and
And that I will
well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
faithfully
Discharge
discharge the duties of which I am now.
Congratulations.
Hey, all right. Can you get this?
Now we're gonna get back an elected clerk so that we can do that cleanly, right? Hi, Neil.
Yeah.
Hi, Neil.
Hi, Neil. Let's see. Any comments you would like to make under your?
About what, being another term? No, this is your
Good.
show. You go.
All right, I'm going to hold my comments until the close of the meeting, and that way you can wait for the main attraction, and we'll work through everything else, and close out the meeting with my thoughts about the coming year. So we'll go ahead and move through this. So the next up is I didn't get my proclamations in order. And the thing about doing this for a year is you get perfect by the time you don't do it anymore. So I'm going to read the first proclamation, which is that the mayor is declaring Nevada City and the Year of the Neighbor. Whereas Nevada City values its strong sense of community and neighborhood identity, and whereas the city has faced challenges such as decreased community engagement due to COVID-19, demographic changes, and aging population, and whereas fostering neighborhood connections is vital for social well-being, leadership development, community decision-making, and emergency preparedness, and whereas knowing one's neighbors can combat loneliness, depression, and isolation, and whereas strong neighborhood relationships contribute to safer, friendlier, cleaner communities with lower crime rates and higher life expectancy, and whereas the ongoing wildfire threat within our state, region, city, and individual neighborhoods necessitates neighborly cooperation to protect our city environment, and whereas California Volunteers Office of the Governor has awarded Nevada City a $250,000 grant for a neighbor-to-neighbor preparedness and education program to enhance wildfire readiness, and whereas this program aims to strengthen neighborhood bonds and support essential community dialogue, whereas the City of Nevada City acknowledges the pervasive impact of loneliness on residents' well-being and mental health, and will be conducting a Meet Six Neighbors campaign to promote empathy, understanding, and support while addressing threats that face our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Nevada recognizes the 12 months beginning July 2024 as the Year of the Neighborhood, encouraging all residents and stakeholders to unite and strengthen our neighborhoods to enhance public health, safety, and quality of life. So it's the Year of the Neighborhood.
Hey.
Thank you. And I even have neighbors here. So yay, my neighbors even came to hear me talk about neighbors. It's going to be a great year. And Evan is running our program over there. And it's great. It's going to be a wonderful, we've got a lot of work to do with our neighborhoods. And I'll say more about that when I make my comments. So next is Plastic Free 2024. And we have with us, you guys want to come up? And
You should go up there with them.
think
Yeah, you read it. Yeah, whatever you want. It's
They have
your
a
turn.
presentation too.
you have a presentation. So well, let's go through the presentation and then I'll give you the proclamation.
Sounds good, thank you.
Okay, good evening, Mayor Peterson, City Council members and staff. I'm Jax, this is Linda. We're members of Waste Not Plastic here in Nevada County, and we're here to present a plastic-free July proclamation. Gabby, help.
Microphone on? Are the microphones on?
It's,
You got a red light? Yeah.
I'll try to get closer. So the Plastic Free Foundation started Plastic Free July in 2011 to end plastic pollution. The theme for this year's campaign is Small Steps, Big Difference, which highlights the power of small changes in reducing the harmful impacts of plastics on the environment and our health. Oh, that was that slide. Hi. Moving on. An estimated 89 million individuals participated last year. Given Nevada County's critical location in the Sierra Nevada watershed, our actions impact the source of water for over 27 million people and half the nation's produce. Community partners are already working to protect our area's natural beauty, the waterways that flow through here, and the health of our community. Circle has removed more than 135 tons of garbage during their annual cleanups, which began in 1997.
Production of plastic is one of the most energy-intensive manufacturing processes in the world. More than 99% of plastics are still made from, from chemicals sourced from fossil fuels and transformed into plastic via heat. The UN Environment Program reports that in 2019, the production of plastics generated 1.8 billion tons of greenhouse gas emissions, a substantial percentage of the global total emissions. The carbon-intensive production of plastics is on pace to emit more greenhouse gases than coal-fired power plants within this decade, according to a report by Bennington College. So by reducing our dependence on single-use plastics, we can significantly decrease the amount of toxic microplastics in our environment. This effort not only safeguards the health of our local community, but also contributes to the economic vitality of California. We invite Nevada City to lead the charge in our region by committing to reducing plastics whenever possible. Promote the use of more sustainable, reusable alternatives to single-use plastic bags, utensils, straws, and food containers in city business and at city-sponsored events. Encourage proper recycling of plastic materials that cannot be avoided. But we can't recycle our way out of this situation. We need top-down solutions, including holding polluters accountable, pushing for state, federal, and global policies, and supporting businesses that invest in upstream innovation and circular economies. You can also help by supporting innovation in plastic alternatives, collaborating with local entrepreneurs and community organizations focused on sustainable solutions. To help make plastic pollution a thing of the past in our region and eventually globally, Waste Not invites all of you to make a pledge to avoid single-use plastics, reuse or recycle plastics you can't avoid, and start conversations with others about why you have chosen to be plastic-free. So we humbly ask that the City Council proclaim July 2024 as Plastic-Free July. By doing so, Nevada City can lead by example, showcasing our commitment to sustainability and the health of our community and environment. Let's take this bold step together to reduce plastic waste, inspire positive change, and pave the way for a cleaner, greener future. Thank you very much.
And thank you for the wonderful presentation. And this is very exciting because it's very rare in our work that you ask for something and we can give it right to you. And we have here a proclamation declaring Plastic-Free July in Nevada City. So whereas Americans represent 4% of the world's population, but generate more than 12% of the world's refuse, discarding more than 30 million tons of plastic each year, but only recycling 6% of it. And whereas plastic particles less than 5 millimeters across end up in waterways and oceans where they're introduced to the food chain and can attract and retain toxic chemicals such as, bisphenol A and pesticides that bioaccumulate in our food. And whereas 80% of marine debris come from land-based sources, primarily trash or litter in urban runoff, and with the increasing rate of plastics entering the oceans by 2050, there will be by weight more plastic than fish in the oceans of the world. Oh. Whereas plastic pollution is causing a public health crisis through the ubiquitous presence of microplastics in the water cycle, including alpine snowfall in the Rocky Mountains, human bodies, and soils. And whereas Plastic Free July is a global movement that helps millions of people be part of the solution to plastic pollution, so we can have cleaner streets, oceans, and beautiful communities. And whereas the 2024 Plastic Free July campaign focuses on small changes each of us can make to reduce plastic waste under the slogan, small steps, big difference. And whereas limiting plastic consumption effectively reduces Nevada City's contribution to climate change, but also symbolically conveys the larger trend of a shift towards the use of renewable resources and green living. Now, therefore, be resolved that the City Council of the City of Nevada City does hereby declare July 2024 to be Plastic Free July. We encourage all residents, visitors, and staff to support and recognize the need to decrease single-use plastic waste in our community. We support choosing reusable alternatives to single-use plastics, making purchase meaningful by seeking products packaged without plastic, sourcing food and products locally where possible, and learning about what resources exist in Nevada City and Nevada County for recycling, compost, and individual waste reduction. Thank you. We're happy to do this. I'll come and give you your present, your proclamation. Thank you. It was a pleasure. We're happy to do this. Thank you. All right, so next up, public comment. Public comment, Government Code Section 54954.3 provides that any member of the public may address the City Council on any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. The Brown Act, with limited exceptions, does not allow the council or staff to discuss issues brought forth from public comment. The council cannot take action on non-agenda items. Concerns may be referred to staff or placed on a future agenda. Please note that comments from the public will also be taken on the consent calendar and each agenda item at the time it is heard. As a reminder, we request that you adhere to the rules of decorum established for this meeting as posted on the walls and available at the podium. Disruptive behavior, threats of violence, and actual violence will not be tolerated. Clapping, yelling, or making noises during or between others' time to speak is not allowed, although we encourage you to display your support if you would like through other means, silent finger clapping display. Only those that have been called to the podium or in line first can be in line behind it. Flags or any displays cannot block the aisles or anyone that is speaking and should be kept to the rear of the room. Sharing of time is not permitted. And we'll take our first speakers now. Thank you. Zach, looks like you're up.
All right, guys, back again, same old thing. So I know that the media blackout on the genocide in this country is quite extensive, so I thought I'd make sure you're getting accurate information about the genocide that we're complicit in, everyone in this room. So the Lancet just released a report estimating that at least 188,000 deaths have occurred because of this war. That's the 40 to 50,000 that are confirmed from active combat, and then they use a metric that's 4 for every 1 death. On the low end is how they got to that number, but it could be as high as 15 for every 1 death from direct bombing. So 15 times 40,000, we're looking at hundreds of thousands of people dead. 90+% of them civilian. So. We've had 3,376 massacres so far, with about 40,000 dead, at least 10,000 missing under the rubble, presumed dead. Almost 16,000 of those are confirmed to be children, 11,000 women, at least 500 of them medical personnel, 75 rescue workers, 224 aid workers, 164 journalists. We've pulled 520 bodies out of mass graves near 7 Gazan hospitals. Most of them showed signs of torture and with their hands bound behind their back. There have been at least 88,000 wounded. There are only 12 of 36 hospitals in Gaza functioning and barely functioning with no fuel, no supplies, no aid's gotten in for months, medical or food aid. 2,000 people are starving to death. I just, I want to make a call for, all the civically minded lefties in the room. Your party is crumbling. And, ever since Reagan's third term, which is what I call Clinton's administration, you've been the right wing. The left wing in this country is right wing. Ask anyone else in any other country. We are not left here. And you have a chance to change the Democratic Party to be left. You have to, because the populist right wing is going to own this country for the next 8, 12, 16 years because they have populism. And the people are fed up with the way the process is. We need to stop playing to the middle of the country. It's not working. It's a broken strategy. Come to the left. The Palestinian movement is an all-inclusive movement. It's a liberatory movement. It's got labor on its side. It's got environment on its side. Swing left as hard as you can before it's too late, because this is Nazi America coming fast, and we're all going to suffer.
Thank you, Zach. Other public comment?
My name is Lydia Thomas. Can you guys hear me? Okay. I have the distinct privilege of working just a few blocks from here in downtown Nevada City's historic district, formerly TJ's and recently rebranded to Creekside Restaurant and Bar. I'm here to speak today about the Broad Street construction project and the impact it's had on our small business. The project began without warning and wiped out the nearest public parking area available to our restaurant for daytime business. The struggle for us does not end there. We have worked hard to manage expectations and mitigate construction noise complaints for our dining guests. I trust you can imagine the impact of the sound of jackhammers when a restaurant is trying to host and serve guests on the patio overlooking Deer Creek. I wish this was the worst of it, because that is all very simple for us to manage. We've also seen drastic cuts in sales, upwards of 53% year over year. We also have no clear communication about when this project will end. We have nearly 40 employees, both part and full-time, Nevada County's best and brightest. Our team is small, but incredibly mighty, and they are the heart of our house. We are struggling to stay in business. The lack of planning and foresight with this project has impacted the livelihoods of dozens of people in our community. The construction team has filled the public lot with their big trucks and coned off street parking with no regard. Their vehicles consume space, sometimes only to sit empty all day while they work. Tuesday, we were cited for having A-frame signage outside of our restaurant and asked to remove it when other businesses in the historic district have been allowed to display them for months. We rely on our signage to ensure guests know that we are open for business through this project. I would be remiss if I failed to mention our neighbor at Rainbow Rocket, Amanda Chavez. I will not speak for her, but I will speak her name today to honor her hard work, passion, and commitment to this community. Creekside has seen a massive detrimental loss. The city needs to treat the downtown businesses equally and be better advocates for those of us across the bridge. Nevada City is a place I've been so proud to call home. Our community is incredibly special, and the local businesses need your support. I challenge the city tonight to do better, to be better. We are suffering in the aftermath of this project, and you have been silent. Please, be the neighbors that the businesses across the Broad Street Bridge deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah.
Good evening. My name is Teresa Levis, and I live here in downtown Nevada City, across from the Bridge Project at Broad and Sacramento Street. And I'm here in hopes that you will hear what it is that the neighbors have had to endure through this process of the bridge. And we're happy for the progress of the bridge, and we're excited for its completion. It has definitely impacted the professional businesses that surround that area. And I know that because I not only have worked there, but I've also lived on premise for 3 years. And it was a beautiful, quiet, lovely corner to be presiding there. And then all of a sudden it became this almost war zone. I'm really happy that there's going to be progression for the safety, environmental purpose, and also from an aesthetic purpose. But I do feel that there's things that are going unnoticed, and that there's something that maybe can be done in just in the small numbers of people that are being impacted right in that area. And I don't know what that is, but I know that I'm being affected from a personal presence, living there day to day. These people, the Mountain Construction Company, come and they start at 5:30 a.m. Sometimes they work till 8 p.m., sometimes till 11 p.m. I live on premise at the building there where Creekside is established and has rebranded recently. I've seen their hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, and now their demise. I've seen Rainbow Rocket go from a thriving business to a ghost town. And I am being affected from my work because I've worked there on premise as project manager and property maintenance. So I have also been affected greatly, and I see that everything that is probably going to help progress this beautiful community that we live in, and this beautiful downtown entrance and the bridge and the safety and the environmental aspect, I agree with completely and look forward to it. But people are being affected. I know neighbors that can't sleep. I'm not sleeping. And then I've got the Stone House across the street that sometimes is they're up until 3 a.m. in the morning, partying, sometimes till 4 a.m. with the people and bystanders on the street. And then they start at 5:30 a.m. You can imagine. I can't go to work every day and feel good about what I do.
Thank you for your comments, Teresa.
Community.
Appreciate
Thank
it. Thank you for coming.
Hello, my name is Liz, and I'm a Nevada County resident. I am here once again to ask for a ceasefire resolution to be put on the agenda. A letter published in the British medical journal Lancet estimated that the true death toll in Gaza could be more than 186,000 people. The study pointed out that the reason the death toll is higher than the nearly 40,000 reported deaths is that the official toll does not take into account thousands of dead which are still buried under the rubble, those buried without being brought into a hospital, and indirect deaths. Indirect deaths are deaths that are not a direct result of a deliberate act of armed violence. So it's due to things like the destruction of health facilities, food distribution centers, and other public infrastructures. Shortages of food, water, shelter, prolonged exposure to harsh conditions, diseases, lack of medical care, lack of medical supplies, unsanitary living conditions, etc. Furthermore, the UN estimates that by February 29th of 2024, 35% of buildings in Gaza had been destroyed. So the number of bodies still buried under the rubble is likely substantial, with estimates of more than 10,000 people. Sanitation has completely collapsed. Infectious diseases are spreading like wildfire. With almost no access to fully functioning toilets or bathing facilities, families are facing extreme health risks from exposure to sewage and waste. In some of these camps, children are trudging through water contaminated with sewage, climbing through mounds of garbage, and relieving themselves in pits covered with burlap, with nowhere nearby to wash their hands. Aside from the constant bombardment from the IOF, Palestinians are dying from treatable injuries, preventable diseases, and man-made famine. These indirect deaths are a direct result of Israel's war crimes and their crimes against humanity. Starvation, collective punishment, indiscriminate bombing, intentionally directing attacks at a civilian population, blocking medical aid and medical assistance, attacking paramedics, bombing hospitals and safe zones, they are slaughtering these people. Over 186,000 people are dead in 9 months. 50% of their population is under the age of 18. And the United States continues to arm and fund Israel. regardless of whatever war crimes they are committing. Over 70% of voters want a ceasefire. Nevada City is not the exception. I've discussed this before. Precedence has already been set for local government to take a stand on international issues. During the apartheid in South Africa, many local government bodies passed resolutions calling for boycotts and divestments. Similarly, ceasefire resolutions have been passed in many cities in the United States. And we have an opportunity to be a part of that. Please let us be a part of that. So I'll ask you again to put a ceasefire on the agenda. And just as a side note, I was informed this evening that the report is still not on the agenda, and I've been coming and being told for the last 2 meetings that something would be here. So it would be great if something was presented sometime soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jesse. I am a volunteer advocate for human rights in Palestine, and I am back to ask this council to make a public condemnation of the ongoing genocide right now. And this request has been made and explained many, many times. Anyone's welcome to go back and see all the meetings that have happened since November last year. The request is still being made, and just want to share a personal anecdote. Since the last time I was in this room before I started coming here to talk to you was when the Patriot Act was being shoved down our throats. I ran out of this room very angry, yelling at the atrociously fascist things I heard people say in that room. And I've grown up a lot since then, and I want to remind you all that you might not agree with how people choose to tell you facts about reality, but it doesn't change those realities. You don't have to agree with the people who are demonstrating against police murder or genocide, but it doesn't mean that you should dig in and support the people who are telling us to do nothing about police murder or genocide. So, see you next time.
Thank you, Jesse. Any other public comment? See no public comment. We will see no further constituents. We will close public comment, and we will move to the consent agenda. And I am looking among my colleagues if there's any polls. All good with the consent agenda? Let's see, public comment on the consent agenda?
Yes.
Yes, so any public comment on items on the consent agenda? Seeing no one, I will look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Okay, next up, we move into our business section. We'll be moving through this, got a few items. So I'm going to turn this over to Sean Grayson, City Manager, on the consideration of the special event request for summer events at the Bodhi Hive Collective, Nevada City Tech Center.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to invite Chris Anderson and Katie up here. Chris Anderson is the owner, and Katie works at the Bodhi Hive there. I'll kick us off, though. Our city planner, Lisa McCandless, and I have been in contact with Chris and Katie and the team over there, and their desire to have a variety of event activities. There are limitations to their zoning and their development agreement out there essentially don't allow for these type of activities. They are allowed under special event applications, much like the Roman Angels event that was successful there last year. They've submitted for a summer series of events. There's 2 different types of events. I'll explain them in brief and let them give you some detail. And it's a total of 10 days across July, August, and September. The first event type is titled Sunday Market at the Hive. It's scheduled for August 11th, 25th, September 7th and 21st. The proposed event hours are 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. with setup beginning at 8 and breakdown by 8 p.m. There's no street closures for these events. It takes place entirely on their private property. There is a site map that demonstrates the use of some of the parking for vendor booths with the remainder of the event activities on the property or in the buildings. The second type of event is concerts at the Hive. This is the first one and the only one in July is July 27th, August 3rd and 17th and 31st, as well as September 14th and 28th. This event hours would be 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. as proposed, with setup beginning at 4 p.m. and breakdown by 1 a.m. Same, no street closures. Their site map is still encompasses the same area but used very differently. The building is the primary event with the amplified music, and the use of the outdoor space, including parking areas for vendor booths. There is a summary of the specific event characteristics in the application packet. And there's also a pretty robust list of conditions that staff will apply. They're standard for our large events. We generally don't have to put them in the process because most of our large events are happening on city property where they're just part and parcel of what we do, although you do receive those presentations usually by the Chamber of Commerce at the beginning of the year for their annual events. I would like to call out, though, that in those conditions, they are subject to sound monitoring, as we do at Pioneer Park. Sound has been something that they brought up as they want to be respectful of neighbors, and they'll be having sound engineers do their own work, and our police department will do sound monitoring as well for the first of each type of event in the same way that we would do it for events at Pioneer Park. And then also there will be inspection of the site for each first iteration of the events. Again, this is not to burden them so much as if someone wants to do a new event downtown that's never been done before, it's still on the same streets that have been here since the 1850s, and it's very easy for us to understand what the impacts would be of moving vendors from one place to another, whereas on their property it's this large scale event hasn't been done in this fashion. So we'll be out there with the police and fire and code on the first iteration of each to make sure that what they have on paper and what our understanding of what it would be matches the reality of their needs of the event, as well as the safety of those that come and go. So with that, I'll hand it over to Chris and Katie to share a little bit more detail about what each type of event is, and then let it come back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. So the Sunday market, a lot of people in the communities, especially families, say there's not a whole lot for the kids to do in the community. So we want to focus on the Sunday events as more family oriented, to have food trucks, to have live music, to have farmer market, to have art market, to have roller skating, games, and so on. So we're hoping to get good amount of the community members to come on out. We've got about 70, a little bit over 70 tenants now at the building. Then a lot of them are artists themselves, and will participate in this. We've also got the commissary kitchen, where we have people that are creating food, like Deer Creek Bakery and so on. So they'll be vending also to help promote their business. We've got a lot of musicians at the property also. I think there's like 7 different bands that use this space. DJs, rock, all kinds of different styles. So they'll also be part of the community events and so on. So it's a way to support the current people that are at the property, but then also it's open to outside businesses also to come over and just interact with each other. And the sound monitoring. So I've looked up a couple sound units that we're going to put, and it's Wi-Fi connected, and we can get real time, and then plus also historical tracking. So be able to see, on a current monitor where we are with sound levels, and then also, we could always look up and see what the historical is, so to make sure that we're not, impacting the neighbors. Done already preliminary testing with the sound, putting outside 120 decibel at the loading dock area. And going over to Chuck and Lorraine CD Construction at their property, is one of the closest properties to the space. And at 120 decibels, you can even pretty much hear yourself talking out there. And it was at 58 at their spot, but I think the 58 was actually more the traffic noise than it was the sound of the amplified music at 100. So, you know, the sound is not going to be an issue, which is great for the location. I don't think there's going to be a large impact on, you know, the community. The business area there isn't open on Sundays or Saturdays. I mean, it's open, but there's very, very few people there. School isn't in session Saturdays and Sundays when the events would be. The Saturday event would be in the nighttime. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Let's see if there's any public comment first. Any public comment on this item? Ms. Gamson?
Good evening, Diana Gamzon, Executive Director of the Nevada County Cannabis Alliance, and we are a tenant of the Nevada City Tech Center. And I am incredibly excited about these opportunities that could be here at the Bodhi Hive. And what's been created there is just really remarkable. And every time I see or hear about a new business that's going in or a new project that's being planned that would bring in a med spa or different industries or whatever it may be, it's just so exciting, the enthusiasm, the vibrancy that's going on there. And so I fully support this proposal that's in front of you today. Some of the really important benefits to allowing for events on this site, it's really contributing to our arts and culture and unique types of events that are happening there that really we haven't seen in our community before, roller skating and music and other types of combined, other types of stuff like that. The economic, one of the things that I think is really cool about this is something that Chris mentioned, which is that by allowing for these types of events, it provides additional business opportunity for the existing tenants that are there. So bands can now have a place to perform. Theater groups have a place to perform, and people come to vendors that are creating different products can now sell. And so that's really exciting. And also the way that there's just a variety of events, from more adult-friendly events to then kids types of events. So yes, cheers to, and I fully support any and all types of growth for this area of Nevada City. It's really exciting. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Any other comments? Okay, I'll bring it back to the council. Questions, comments?
Okay, it's great to see Seven Hills perking up. I have a few maybe detailed questions. You said that the sound monitoring was going to be done by a professional staff. They would be hired by you?
No, my plan is to purchase professional equipment, and that's something that we would monitor, but that, you know, you guys could have access also. So there'd be a login Wi-Fi. We'll keep an eye. I don't feel like it needs to be professional staff, very expensive. It's not needed. The equipment nowadays is, you know, just Wi-Fi. You just go and put the microphone up on a tree, and it's battery operated. So, you know, we can see in real time what's happening. You guys could all see what's happening, and police could see what's happening, the neighbors and so on. And it tracks it historically also.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And some of your events are on Sunday, and I don't know that this is a problem, but have you checked with the St. Canis Center about whether or not they are also having events on Sundays?
Yeah, I have not actually, but that's a good point. Yeah. So I don't expect it to affect them. The noise level is very, very low. And I don't think the traffic, you know, they come in from a different way. So I don't think it's going to affect them, but no, I did not think to reach out to them.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
I got a few questions. So I saw that you contacted neighbors and you sent them letters and stuff. I'm just curious, did you hear back from anyone? Was it the sort of thing you sent out and didn't hear back from, or has there been some dialogue with neighbors about it?
There has, to tell you the truth, we have not sent out the letters yet.
Oh.
So that was a mistake, and I just found that out today.
Okay.
Yep. So that isn't, That is an issue.
Yeah, you should, yeah, you do that.
Yes.
And so for the sound monitoring and everything, what's the sequence of events? Let's say it's too loud somewhere, like, what's the sequence of events to get that brought down to acceptable levels? Like, how fast does that happen? What's the chain of command for that?
It'll be immediate. So, the sound engineer that will be,
Present. Yeah.
present will have a monitor right there in front of
Okay.
them, so they can see real time what it looks like.
Okay, great.
But we've had, events in the past, and it's amazing how the sound, the property really contains the sound really, really well. It's amazing how loud it could be and without interrupting the neighbors.
You've had events kind of that would be at this level of volume, you suppose?
We've had, the New Year's party, we've had the Halloween, also the Zodiac. So we've had 3 large-scale events. Roman Angels is another
Yeah.
one. And so, after the skateboarding meeting that we had, a couple
Right.
months ago, they commented that they could hear the music from those events, but that the Miners Foundry was much louder.
Okay, funny. And I just have a couple questions about some of the dates. The September, the sort of daytime event, is there a overlap? Because you mentioned a farmer's market being a big part of it.
So it's going to be, what we did is we toned it down just to, get things going and get it, some projects under the belt. So it'll be one Saturday, will be the concert. That'll be a Saturday evening concert.
Yeah.
And then next week will be the Sunday market. So it's going to be every other weekend would be an event.
But is there overlap with the existing the downtown farmers market?
No, that's on Saturday.
Okay.
So this will be a Sunday thing.
And have you found, have you been reaching out to vendors that show up at the downtown farmers market that are up for doing it 2 days in a row? Is there interest there?
Haven't really reached out to them too much. So that is something that's still on, on the list of things to do. But before we did that, I know there's going to be interest. It's not just the farmer market, but it's going to be the artists and, and woodworkers and
A lot going
a
on.
lot of other, businesses and so on.
And one more, I did notice you've got the September 28th, which is, in addition to your event, the Brew Fest is happening in Grass Valley. That wouldn't impact if I think this should go forward or not, but that seems like you might want to move that because that's a very popular event.
28th, is that Saturday or Sunday?
I don't have a calendar here.
It's a concert, so it's Saturday.
It's a Saturday, and that's in the evening or the daytime?
The Brew Fest?
Yeah.
Tom, when's the Brew Fest start?
Don't know.
Grass Valley in here, he doesn't know when the Brew Fest starts.
You knew about it, though.
I knew about it, and I'm no fun at all. I think it's early. I think it starts maybe 4 p.m. Anyone? Bob? Starts around 4 p.m.
Yeah, our event will start around more like 9 o'clock.
Oh.
The music starts, and
Okay.
it'll probably be a different style than the Brewfest, maybe. But I think there's enough room for it.
I just want to make sure you're not,
Yeah, if it was a
Putting a lot
Sunday,
of
if it
work
was
into
a Sunday
something.
market, that would be a whole different thing, because then 2 Sunday events, going on. But
Yeah.
this is more of a nighttime, and I think a little bit of a different crowd.
all right.
Lou, you want to follow up?
When is Constitution Day?
September 18th.
It's, on Constitution Day, September 18th.
Okay,
I feel like I haven't read my calendar.
thank you.
Yeah, couple questions. Excuse me. You mentioned the 120 decibels at the tech center. That was just a volume that you're using to test to see what it looked like out in the community. It wasn't the level of decibels that you're going to have shows at.
No, that's before the speakers started popping. So we turned it up as high as we could actually make the sound system go. And at 120, it was clipping out like, it wasn't good for the sound system. So we'd probably play it more like at 100. So substantially less than where we were at for that.
And you guys are pretty familiar with our noise ordinance, correct?
60 decibels, for the residential, 70 for commercial, and we're going to be far below that.
Sure. And so as I understand it, as Sean, indicated in the staff report, at the beginning, the first event of any of these events, we're going to have one of our sound monitoring staff there to see that everything goes well. And then if everything goes well, you guys fly on your own for that event. Then the other event, the same thing would go on. Is that the way it works?
Correct.
Okay. So we have a staff person, one of our staff people who are going to help you, get this right. And then you guys are on your own. That person presumably would have an ability to monitor it from afar.
Yeah, so if you have somebody that's focused on that within the city, I don't know who that person is, but we could give them access to our system so they'll see real time and historically what's going on.
So with the Sunday market, is that more of like a flea market, or are we talking food too, just like our downtown farmers market?
Yeah, it's a mix of everything, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, mix of everything. So I don't want it to be, I don't think it's going to be like a true flea market where it's going to be a bunch of like a garage sale kind of thing. I don't.
But in art markets, or everybody's going to sell there. I mean, it's a highbrow flea market.
Yeah, there'll be a little bit of the cars and something. So there might be a little bit of a swap meet. There might be a kind of a, thing where it's, some high-end, car parts or something like that might be included.
And since you have classic cars, or whatever the new name of the car.
Gold Country
Gold Country classic cars, they're going to be participating in this as well?
Correct, yeah.
So there's going to be cars on display, and how does that work?
Yes, there's going to be cars on display. There's also going to be different themes going on too. So there's like Rebel Market that's been going on for a bit. They were over in New Mohawk for a while, and then they moved over to the Gold Vibe Kombuchery, and they hold that once a month on a Sunday. So Gold Vibe Kombuchery, the county shut them down. They didn't have, an event license. It wasn't zoned properly. It was a brewery and tap house. So a lot of their events, pretty much all their events, there's no more of that over there. So there's a new home for Rebel Market to come. And so we're going to have different, one of the ideas is to have different wings of the parking lot, maybe different vibes, different, styles of markets and so on. But then also switch it up between the different markets, like from each Sunday. So it's a new experience. It's not the same thing over and over and over again.
I love that. And so, what I'd like to say is, obviously I've been sort of involved with this and working with you ever since you lent the food bank place to store food during COVID. And I just have to say, I've been impressed with what you've done over there. And my big concern about this was, hey, you got so many good things going on over there. This has to get done right. And it looks like you are. I know you're working with Sean and Lisa, and they're helping you get all the permitting and working through our, the convoluted development agreement and the underlying zoning. But yeah, well, Sean is, very creative and very good at figuring things out and making things work when they can. And so I'm very proud of the fact that the city has been really partnering with you guys. I mean, I have to assume that I know you're investing millions of dollars in building out this place that had laid fallow for 15 years. And now we have 70 different businesses in there. And I've been over there, I'm actually, I spend a little bit of time over there talking to some of the people that I know, and, everybody's happy. It's just an amazing thing you've done. And, this is just the next incarnation of the things you're doing over there. And, I'm impressed with Katie, and she's like she's very good on the attention to detail, and you've got a good team with you. So I'm really excited about this. I just want to make sure it goes right, and, goes right for the neighbors. You have some powerful neighbors around there.
Yep.
And I know that you've worked with them all. Yeah, Carrie, you got Peter Van Zant right down there. Very powerful. And of course, Lorraine and Charlie, and so they are the sort of point people who are going to sort of keep the line on the volume. As everybody knows, we've had some issues in Pioneer Park, and we can't do this kind of thing in Pioneer Park right now. And so it's amazing that we have another space where we can do outdoor things, have music, have people, kid-friendly and adult-friendly. So I'm a big fan of this, and I just wanted to say thank you for all the work you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, in reference to Councilmember Cece's, the celebration of Constitution Day is the 14th and 15th, so Saturday, Sunday, and that is one of the dates you have for your concerts at the Hive. The 14th, that time frame falls far after our Constitution Day activities. And then the event in Grass Valley, Mill Street downtown is between 1 and 5 p.m. So again, the concert would be later. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say where I got that information from. The county CEO of all people who happens to be in the room.
She's on it. Yeah.
Thank you,
Okay.
Allison.
Thank you, Sean. I've said this before is economically what you're trying to do down there with that really old facility that's so valuable, as long as it's legal, I'm going to support it. And I do. However, this is a significant number of events. It is a new impact in that regard. And the way I think about this is I like the special permit process because we're going to have to live into this. It's one thing, I've worked a lot with sound in my days. I'm probably overqualified on the noise side of it. But noise, so much of noise is perception. People, you can measure noise and say it's loud or not based on the science, but people will react based on their own situations and stuff. So I think we're going to, I'm all for it. I absolutely support it, but we're going to have to see what happens as we go and adjust and make it all work. And I know you're flexible and willing to do that. So I support it. So I'm looking for, I would be looking for.
I've just got the one sticking point. Like, I think we're all in favor of this, but I really think you got to reach out to the neighbors.
Yes, for sure.
And we should,
100%.
if there is any issues brought up, we should know about it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to happy to support this contingent on the response from the neighbors, including Lou bringing up St. Canis, which seems important on a Sunday.
Correct. Yes, I agree.
Bright and early.
Yeah.
So I make a motion that we approve this proposal with the caveat that this team will reach out to the neighbors, to the key neighbors in the area, and make sure there are no complaints, and if there are, that we get notified of what those are and make sure that you navigate those.
So then also the circumference of the notification is actually just the commercial neighbors, because we're so far away from the residential. So, it's actually not, the residential neighbors aren't part of it. The commercial neighbors, who I know, they're the businesses and so on. They're not there on really Saturday and Sunday. The parking lots are empty. These are people that work, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, pretty much.
But I think we
for
still
sure
have to
we
reach
do.
out.
We do have to reach out. I'm not saying I'm not trying to reach out, but I'm just wanting to, let you know.
So
what
for
that-
clarification, if we used any reasonable standard, 500 feet or 1,000
Yeah.
feet would be our normal noticing.
Right.
That would not encompass anything. Chris owns the parcels that encompass all that area.
Yeah.
So I think, Councilmember Fleming, maybe you're asking that the city work with Chris and Katie to identify basically all of the perimeter housing and commercial occupancies to make sure all of them get noticed.
And also, let's figure out what the distance is. So if they're 5,000 feet away, I don't think we should hold them to a different standard than we hold anybody
But
else to.
the conversation was about the perimeter, and I think that's legitimate, and I don't think it takes in a lot of houses. So,
Fair.
The other thing is as I heard Councilman Klein say, if the city does.
Sorry, it's Vice Mayor.
I'm just Holy cow.
Caught him well.
But that we are notified if there is issues delivered to the city from the community, that we hear about them. That was the request. Yeah.
And we'll notify, all the residential people around, especially like Charlie and Lorraine, that, he has my cell phone number. We talk, regularly, Lorraine also, and they'll give me a call if there's any issues. And
So I got a first, looking for a second.
Second.
All right. Would you call the roll, please, Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Cici,
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Klein,
Yes.
Mayor Peterson.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
Best of luck.
Yeah. All right, moving on to item 7, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Nevada City declaring a Stage 3 water shortage, warning and implementing sections set forth in Nevada City Drought Action Plan, a water shortage contingency strategy for the City of Nevada City. City Manager Grayson.
Welcome back. On March 27th of this year, NID adopted a resolution calling for voluntary water conservation is really related to PG&E's unplanned outages, on the South Yuba Canal and related to Spalding Lake. On April 10th, the City Council adopted a resolution, what we refer to as Stage 2 Water Shortage Alert, implementing the same voluntary actions as NID was requesting of their customers. PG&E has missed a set of rolling deadlines for temporary repairs. Permanent repairs are not anticipated until late August of 2024. As of NID's board meeting yesterday, PG&E's report was that they are on time. They're on schedule, so meaning they're on schedule for the pushed back schedule.
For the new delay, they're on schedule.
So on June 26th, NID adopted their resolution imposing mandatory water conservation. They have already done rotating blackouts for agricultural water, which is the majority of their water that they provide. Grass Valley, all of their supply of water that they treat comes from NID. We use NID as a backup source we have enough water, but our reservoir isn't large enough to capture all of that in every given year. Whether you are the 2/3 of the residents in Nevada City that are served by Nevada City Water, or the third that are served by NID, everyone's equally impacted by this situation. So our drought action plan calls for mandatory at stage 3. We're currently at stage 2, which you brought us to in April. So stage 3 would be appropriate now. It would include all the same things that we asked people to do in stage 2, but now it is no longer an ask, it is a requirement. Largely those come to our residential customers in the form of asking them to not water as much, not water as many days, not leave a hose, but just open on the driveway, which hopefully they're not doing because they pay for their water. I'm guessing they're not doing that anyway, but you never know. For our commercial customers, the same. And then for our restaurants, there's a variety of simple things we ask them to do, or now we're requiring them to do, like don't serve water unless it's requested. Many of our restaurants do that already anyway because they were accustomed to it throughout the drought. So staff will be working with the businesses and residents in the community starting tomorrow, assuming you adopt the resolution. We'll have some small videos, do this, don't do that kind of activities. And then starting next week, we'll be visiting businesses, specifically restaurants, to share with them best practices for compliance. We've lived through this through the drought, so we know the things that work and don't work. I will say that our community did respond to the request, the voluntary stage 2. We did have a reduction in water use year over year from 2023 to 2024, but now we're asking that to continue. Hopefully this is resolved in a timely fashion. I'm sure many of you see there on NID's website or maybe on UBANet the pictures of what Rollins looks like now versus what it looked like before. That's the very kind of the bottom end of the watershed there. It is a real emergency, so it does require us to take action. But if we keep on the timeline that PG&E has set forth, then we should be able to get back to some semblance of normal sometime by the end of summer. So the city is doing its part already. If you think that the grass is not as green as it normally is at Pioneer Park, that's because when we went to voluntary, we took the actions that the city would do under the mandatory anyway, and a variety of other things, which ultimately does save us on water usage, also potentially cost the city money in not selling as much water, but it's much more important that we conserve at this point than it probably will not be measurable, the loss of revenue that we would have, but if it is, then we'll bring it back to you at mid-year. But either way, the more important thing now is to conserve. And with that, I would request that you adopt the resolution.
All right, let's go to public comment. Any comment on this item? Seeing none, I will bring it back to the council. Comment?
Sure, with this, we're trained well to deal with, droughts and water shortages in this community, and people are pretty obedient and follow direction pretty well when it comes to environmental issues, generally speaking. But what does enforcement look like? That's what I want to understand, and, what are the layers? First it's education, I understand, we go out and we educate people, but what does enforcement look like in this kind of situation?
So enforcement will come through code enforcement, through the police department. The longer this goes, the more we know people will complain about their neighbors or about the city or about NID or whoever else has a water leak or is overly lush rose bushes or whatever the complaints may be. But yes, it will be education. By and large, we'll get those complaints. A code enforcement officer will go out and assess the situation, probably say, hey, you're not allowed to do that anymore under those conditions. Here's why. They'll comply and we'll move on. It's unlikely that we'll see other things. The normal progression is, people that choose not to comply, there's stepwise fashion for that. But we definitely encourage community members, if they see a water leak, doesn't matter whose property it's on, give us a call. Because if it's ours, we're gonna go fix it. If it's NID's, we're gonna notify them and we will help them go fix it. And if it's on private property, we're gonna notify the private property owner and get it fixed too, because those, what amount to seemingly small water leaks can be tremendous amount of volume of water at a time when we need it the most. So education, but also, if you see a leak, definitely report it to us.
Thanks.
So really quick, you mentioned Pioneer Park and watering it less. I thought Pioneer Park was now being watered by its own water source, the well we spotted. Is that
it's not converted over.
Hasn't happened yet. Okay.
So and the two pieces of that project are the conversion as well as the sprinkler system in the Grove.
Yeah.
And which is currently a manual system and will be replaced with funding and assistance from the Lions Club and a gracious donation.
Cool. I wish we had got that done by now. For this moment. Can you talk about what else the city, like the city is doing to set a good example, et cetera? Like how is the city of Nevada City reducing its water use?
So we're no longer allowing the use of the bathrooms by staff. No.
I think it's a bad idea, Sean.
No, our biggest uses of water are from those activities like if we're going to pressure wash streets, if we were going to test or flow hydrants or water lines. So we're deferring any of those kind of activities. And then the reduction of the use of water. Most of our, sprinklers are in like Commercial Street Lot, Callahan Park, small volume up Nevada Street at the Y there, but the biggest amount is at Pioneer Park there. Believe it or not, our biggest use of potable water is at our water treatment facility in backwashing our filters. So Mike Fedoa, our chief plant operator, and the rest of his team have been spending a lot of time trying to optimize their practices, because as we ramp up from we essentially double our water production at the plant this time of year. To optimizing that reduces how much backflow we have to do, backwashing we have to do, which is potable water and large gallonage. So that's the biggest piece.
It's bigger than the swimming pool?
It is bigger than the swimming pool. Most of the swimming pool is not evaporating at the same time, but if we're backwashing twice a day instead of once a month, it's a big deal.
And one more thing, I feel like the city is going to do what it can to educate people and let people know. I think the county's doing that. I think Grass Valley's going to be doing that. But this is a big time tourist area. Is there anything we can do to reach out to the hotels, to Airbnbers, to just put some literature where people are going to see it, to say, hey, by the way, could you please help us do what we're all trying to do?
Yes, and so the hotels, the restaurants will all get that same, in-person communication from Evan. He's right there. Walking up and down the streets, sharing that information with folks. The Airbnbs, we will mail that out to them. Some of them are local owners, some of them are out-of-town owners. We did reach out to a number of them after the joint session of the cities, town, and county board of supervisors and councils. There was someone indicated, I believe in public comment, the opportunity to, have something about fire safety on the back at Airbnbs, and all the ones that we reached out to, which is about half, 35 of our local Airbnbs, were receptive to doing something with that, and that will be coming soon, but this will be coming sooner.
Okay, thank you.
This will probably kill my Daphne, but okay. It's a reasonable sacrifice to keep us water secure. I am very glad to hear that the backwashing is becoming more efficient, and I know that in the CIP we have at least plans to have more efficient water storage and transportation, and this is more urgent now than ever. I have two questions. When and how will we know that we can lift this emergency?
So essentially, we're following NID's lead on this. It is what's written in our plan anyway. Essentially, if they go to voluntary, we should consider it. Even if we're not directly affected, a third of the customers in the city are NID customers anyway, so we should, follow suit. We will know, more when PG&E reports what they found. It's possible, though, that there could be a lag time, because it's not like it will instantly refill everything. So, it'll take time to get the water down through the canals and into the system. Councilmember Klein did note that he believes Grass Valley.
I'm sorry, it's Vice Mayor.
Not as funny the second time. My apologies, Vice Mayor Klein mentioned earlier, the county and Grass Valley be doing it. I think there's a couple of Grass Valley council members in the audience this evening, and they did adopt their equivalent resolution on Tuesday this week, and we'll be working with them for shared social media offerings and the like.
My last question, this happens to coincide with a major heat wave, and I know many of our restaurants are using outdoor misters. Will it affect their use of those?
Yes, that it should stop. And same with the city doesn't use any of those, but if you're doing anything that's, just discharging water to atmosphere, it's essentially the same as on an impermeable surface. You're just losing it. There's no way to recover it, and it's not used for a direct purpose. That being said, an individual, fan mister or something like that, that's actually going on somebody and cooling them off, that's very different than there's nobody eating outside because it was 105 degrees today, but the mister's still on. That would not be good.
Okay, I just want to make sure that those that are using misters get notified.
Evan.
He's on it.
Good job.
You good? All right. Thank you. As much pleasure as I consistently take in disparaging PG&E, and I do take a lot of pleasure in that, I'm not going to do it tonight because there's better things going on tonight, so I'm not going to spend my time going off on PG&E, although it's important to understand this is not a real drought. This was created by PG&E failing to maintain their equipment. So just like the fires, now it's the water, and it's all PG&E, so I'll stop there. But I think we need to do this. We need to play our part. We've all got to get through this and see how it goes. So I would certainly support that and look for a motion.
I move we adopt resolution number 2024-29, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Nevada City declaring a Stage 3 water shortage warning and implementing actions set forth in the Nevada City Drought Action Plan, a water shortage contingency strategy for the City of Nevada City.
I'll second that.
Easy for you to say.
It's a lot easier to
Roll
say.
call, please.
Councilmember Cece?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Klein?
You're doing so good. Yes.
So
And
well.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes. I think the only real question is what happened to Vice Mayor Klein? He's asked more questions and made more cogent observations tonight than he has in the previous 2 years. So we elevated his status and he like lit up. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'm happy to see it. All right. So we're getting close. So consideration of adoption of resolution number approving the appointment of city council members to internal and external committees and regional bodies for July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
I'll close this out this evening, Mr. Mayor, with the council reorganization that we did at the beginning of the meeting and the rotation of mayor, the mayor appoints council members to internal and external committees. The council ratifies those appointments by the adoption of the resolution that's before you. Essentially, the external committees are unchanged. We rotate the mayor into the highest and best use courthouse appointment as external committee. So that changes from formerly Mayor Fernandez to now Mayor Peterson. But essentially, the rest of the external appointments remain the same. Our internal appointments will look a lot different than the last couple of years. Since we adopted our strategic plan, we had a council committee of 2 members appointed for each of the 7 strategic initiatives. Plus we had a policing committee, and in this year we appointed a courthouse ad hoc committee. So for those counting at home, that is 9 committees that the council members had to attend, or 9 that I had to attend. We're consolidating those down into essentially 3 committees and 1 that will go back to the full council for this fiscal year. There'll be a public safety committee, which will include all things police, fire, OES, and public safety, but will take in the work previously done by the policing committee and the fire safety advisory committee. The work of the Fire Safety Advisory Committee, including their community appointees, will be unchanged. But those 2, Mayor Peterson and Councilmember Ceci, would also take those additional items. Economic and community development, this would encompass the previous strategic initiative committees of housing, vibrancy, and business. So essentially taking all of those things into consideration. And the last would be community services. That would take our previous parks, anything that has to do with community engagement, as well as the courthouse ad hoc committee. Courthouse ad hoc committee would stay when it does its work. It would retain Councilmember Fleming and the external appointment of Paul Matson, Mayor Emeritus, and Committee Emeritus, probably I think it's 3rd term sitting on that committee. But otherwise, that would be your 3 committees. What was formerly our infrastructure and water committees, that work will be absorbed by the full council meeting at the end of each calendar year and prior to each budget workshop to do CIP workshops to determine the work that was previously done at those 2 levels. So with the adoption of this resolution, the Deputy City Clerk, Gabby, sitting to my right, transmits all these to all of our external agencies. Not a lot of big changes this year, but we'll pass along to everyone. And one of the things the staff report does is calls for the convening of all of the new committees, and that at that meeting that they would schedule a regular meeting of the committee on a every other month basis. And so essentially the Fire Safety Advisory Committee already meets on a monthly basis. Then you have 2 other ones that are meeting every other month. So essentially every month we will have a committee meeting plus a Fire Safety Advisory Committee. And then at that meeting also review the strategic initiatives, goals, objectives, and delegations to the committee, as well as establish priorities or work plan for the committee for the fiscal year. And I look forward to working with all of you on your existing or new assignments. I recommend you adopt the resolution. I'll give it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And before we go to the public, I believe Councilmember Ceci had a correction.
Yes, in the middle of last year, Daniela and I agreed to swap our primary and alternate roles for the Nevada County Transportation Commission and the Nevada County Connects Transit Services Committee, so that I am the primary and she is the alternate. I believe that she intended that to be permanent change.
Got that?
I can write it however you would like.
Okay. Public comment. Okay, ready to go. So I think before we look for a motion on this, and this is the final structure of how we are going to work in the next year, I'm going to go ahead and make my mayoral comments as we step into this next year and look at where we're going. So ladies and gentlemen and residents of our much loved Nevada City, I sit here before you today. I reflect on a 50-year history of service to many communities of which I have been a member, and how I see being the mayor of Nevada City feels to be my greatest achievement yet, the pinnacle of my many years of service. And it is about service, but as Annie Lamott, the amazing author, has written, service is, yes, it is the path to enlightenment, but it's also a long and dusty journey that will require snacks and magazines to complete. There is a truth in life that the paths on which our journeys unfold are never straight or predictable, and finding one's way requires a great deal of faith, hope, love, perseverance, courage, and yes, snacks and magazines. Like all of us, my path led here to Nevada City. And Nevada City is a place where people have lived for millennia, under many names, many people, tribes, cities, communities, many people have come here. But I think the only name that really matters for all of us over the long course of this history is home. This is home. And on that path to get here on our way home, it sometimes feels as though we walk alone, sometimes through light, sometimes through dark. It feels so lonely, but the truth is we never truly walk alone. Many others share the path with us. When we all arrive in a place we call home, we build a thing called community. And community is how we learn to live together, how we learn to care for each other, how we share what we have, and how we create home. Ask anyone who's been in Nevada City for a while, or ask all of us who wandered through, as I did in 1974, and came later to stay, why we are here, and the answer will almost always be, we are a community. So I want to begin my remarks by thanking those who have walked beside me and those who have been on the path with me as I found my way home. My sister is here, Donita Ferguson, and she's here representing my family, and you guys are all really lucky that she's the one they sent. And they gave me a card tonight that was really great. It said, it was a congratulatory card that said, the man, the myth, the mayor. So all I can say is she's the lucky one, but she's been a constant supporter and a believer in me no matter where I went and what I did. And thank you for being here, Donnie. It means more than I can have words to say. So it's really great to have you here. Also with me tonight in the back there is my friend, Chris Nielsen, who is more of a brother to me than any man I've ever known. I've been into the journey with him for more than 50 years. And wow, the adventures. The currency becomes the stories that we have to tell. But you know, Chris is primarily responsible for me and many other people being here in Nevada City. Chris had always known people in town. He left Tahoe in the 80s and came down the mountain to begin restoring old houses in Nevada City. I came and worked for him, and though I had been in and out of Nevada City many times, before that, it was those extended stays where I really began to understand and appreciate this community we call home. And Tom Nye, my dear friend who is here tonight, the Planning Commission Chair, once said about our friend Chris, when you say yes to Chris Nielsen, anything can happen. I met Tom in the early 80s when he was working with Chris. He said yes to Chris and ended up in Long Island for 10 years. I said yes and ended up here. So I give special thanks to Tom as well because he found his way back from the East Coast. And it's Tom who is responsible for me being on the council. It was only after he agreed to be my planning commissioner that I decided to run for office. Tom's done a fantastic job as a planning commission chair, working with planning commissioners and staff to transform the planning commission into an influential body that really does its job. Even though most of you don't notice and still believe that the words planning commission are synonymous with dysfunction, Tom and all the other commissioners have done a great job. And many of you are here tonight, and you serve our community so well, doing such important work. So thank you. For doing a whole lot of challenging work. I'd also like to give a special shout out to Peter Van Zandt, my old friend, who I met when he was a county supervisor, and he's now a current planning commissioner, for all the support he's given me for nearly 25 years. And like Chris, Peter is someone else who, if you say yes to, anything could happen. I also want to thank my colleagues and fellow council members for their leadership and collaboration. I've served many councils, many boards, and many committees over my career, and this council is one of the hardest working, most competent, intelligent, and capable governing bodies I've ever had the pleasure of working with. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and I promise my gift to you all will be more work. There are many significant issues ahead of us, but we are competent and we are ready. And one of the things you learn when you campaign for office in Nevada City and go door to door is that it's like every third person has been a council member, a mayor, or a planning commissioner. And so thank you to every one of you, many of you here tonight, who took on the role of caring for our community. And I have learned from all of you, and I have deep regard and respect for every one of you for stepping up and serving our city. And when we talk about caring for our city and the council working so well, we've got to thank Sean Grayson for doing everything it takes to keep our city humming and supporting the work of our council. He's also made great hires and built a culture of competence, trust, and goodwill that inspires all of our staff to work well as members of one of the coolest teams ever. And I got to say this about Sean because it's really important. Sean returned to Nevada City because he loves it. I guarantee you, he's got a lot of options for where he chooses to work, and many of those options pay a lot more money than we do. But because he grew up here and he gets Nevada City, he chose us. Everyone in this room and every citizen has benefited from the love that he holds for Nevada City. So keep that in mind the next time he says no to you. I also want to acknowledge all of our great partners here tonight who mean so much to our city, folks from other agencies, our colleagues from Grass Valley, and all the work that it's so necessary that we do together. And Nevada City, as the county seat, has always had a special relationship with the county organization. And I want to thank all of you for your great collaboration and for coming tonight and being such important as our allies as we all take on these really big issues together in a regional way. It's so important that we all work together. And I also, in terms of, the long and winding road and the path, I'm thrilled and how we end up in a place. Allison, I'm so thrilled to be working with you again, like 25 years later. So it's fantastic. So thank you for that. And finally, and not least, I want to express my sincerest thanks and love to Christine Bottaro, my wife, my lover, my friend, and advisor. I did not come to marriage until later in my life because I frankly couldn't find anyone that would put up with me. And it took that long for someone to put up with me and understand just what I believe in and what I stand for. I would not be here before you tonight without the support she has so willingly given me and through me to all of you. And it's just a really cool thing for me is that through Christine, to get married at 57, you don't have much of a family, but she did. She gave me a family. I've got a beautiful family. Her daughter, Serena, and Serena's husband, Clay, have gifted me with a granddaughter, Sierra, who has changed my life and made me a better man. And every time I am near her, I realize how incredible it is to be in the presence of the world's only perfect child. So thank you for all of that. But here's my point. This is my point. I'm thrilled to have all of you here and to have those of you I was named as important to me. But the truth is, you are all important and every one of you matters. Whether it's a friendly hello from our businesses, owners, some of whom are here tonight, our amazing artists, our healers, our all-around great citizens who live here. It is all of us who together that make this the community that it is. And again, as I speak of community, I remind you and myself that my commitment to service binds me to this city. When I returned to Nevada City for the third time between 2018 and 2020, I was not looking to run for office. After 50 years of sitting where you are, it wasn't something I really thought I wanted to do, and I'd never really entertained it seriously. Yet here I am. Most of you have heard the story. Out of curiosity, I went to read the city budget, and the rest is history. The budget was unreadable, and I couldn't find anyone to talk to about it, much less explain it. Budgets are really important. Shortly after I learned about that and was thinking about the budget, there was a special election. It turned out that the mayor had resigned and several folks were looking for candidates. Several had approached, again, my friend Tom Nye, and I think it kind of went like, oh, no, not me. But I think I know just the person. Apparently he was right, so I ran. And during the time of my campaign in 2020, COVID was raging, along with all the positioning, politics, and chatter that went along with that. And on August 9th, right in the middle of my campaign, protesters and counter-protesters violently clashed in front of City Hall, probably in a day our city will never forget, while our police department stood by and watched. At this point, I realized that there was a lot more going on than I had realized. And what was I signing up for here? But it only became more dramatic. I took my position on the council and found a city and a council trying to function in chaos. I got elected in November 2020, and by February 2021, the entire leadership team had departed. I've been doing government for a long time, and I'm a change guy in government. I never saw anything like it. This council and the one preceded it, we did what was necessary to preserve our city. We had some excellent advisors, among them our esteemed attorney, Dean Cucci. Thank you, Dean. Essential guidance through some incredibly turbulent waters. So the first 4 years of my term, and pretty much Doug, and the first 2 years of yours, we worked with our colleagues to rebuild our city's entire administrative, financial, regulatory, and public safety operational structure. We rebuilt this city from the ground up on the inside. And most of you know very little about this. And we proceeded to do what was necessary in the cleanest way possible, with limited drama, no headlines. Head down, we took care of business, and because we did, we are in a very different place with a very different future ahead of us. Now that we know our city will survive as an organization, we look outward and see that the greatest threat to all of us is now fire. So now we need everyone. We were able to rebuild this place from the inside out because we had great advice and we needed to take care of business internally. Now we look externally and we need everyone. Every citizen must play their part if we are to mitigate this terrible threat. This one can't happen internally. It must happen among all of us, and it must happen now. I believe that we owe the communities that have been lost to fire. We owe Paradise, Greenville, and Lahaina. As we have learned so much for their loss, we must repay those losses by using what we have learned to save ourselves and other communities. We are doing that. The Fire Safety Advisory Committee, many of whom are here tonight, has been working for several years to address these issues. We have some very robust firewise communities, well-established neighborhoods that support this work, and with the wisdom of our voters, approved Measure C, so we now have funding. We're still going to take more, and each of us has to play our part. We have partnered with the county in preparing plans. We have worked with the Sierra Conservancy to plan for mitigating fuel in Deer Creek Canyon. We are working to secure funding to complete that project. It's all picking up momentum, but it's important to understand this work will be never ending. We must build community-wide support for this effort, hence the Year of the Neighborhood. This theme is not just a slogan, but a commitment to strengthening the very fabric of our community, celebrating our shared spaces, and honoring the collective spirit that makes our town unique. But why does this matter so much, especially in the context of fire prevention? The answer lies in the power of community. Fire prevention is not just about extinguishers and alarms, it's about awareness, preparedness, and most importantly, human connection. When we know our neighbors, when we look out for one another, we create a safety net that is invaluable in times of crisis, any crisis. Not just fire, snowmageddon, anything that happens. Imagine a town where every resident knows the location of their nearest fire hydrant. Every family has a practice escape plan, and every neighborhood has a designated meeting point in case of emergency. This is not a dream, it's a reality we must achieve together. During the Year of the Neighborhood, we will embark on a series of initiatives to foster a fire safety culture and community resilience. We will organize neighborhood fire drills where residents can practice evacuation procedures in a calm and controlled environment. We will hold workshops on fire safety, teaching our community how to identify potential hazards and respond in the event of fire. Or Evan's going to do it anyway. But the true essence of the Year of the Neighborhood is the relationships that we build. It's in our conversations over backyard fences, the shared meals, the block parties, and the mutual assistance in times of need. When we are connected, we are more likely to notice when something is amiss, lend a helping hand, and act swiftly in an emergency. I get that Nevada City has been a very strong community for the last 50 years or 60 years, stronger than many places. Still, we face the same challenge as the rest of the world when we understand the impacts of the pandemic on isolation and separation, or when we tear down those who seek to divide us, trampling our freedoms for political gain. The strength and quality of our community has been beaten on hard. The fabric stretched thin, yet here we are, and every person here caring, every person here ready to do their part. We are Nevada City, that is what we do. So let us commit to making the Year of the Neighborhood a resounding success. Let us pledge to know our neighbors or know them even better. Let's look out for one another and work together to prevent fires and ensure the safety of our community. And let us do this work with pride, inclusivity, civility, generosity, and love. Let's do it as human beings together. We are stronger, and we can make our town a model of fire safety and community spirit that will serve us all for decades to come. So here's to the Year of the Neighborhood and the brighter, safer future it promises for all, and it's my pleasure to serve this city and all of you for the next year. Thank you. I'm looking for a resolution to...
Gary, as your vice mayor, I'd just like to say, I move we adopt resolution number 2024-30, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Nevada City approving the appointment of city council members to internal and external committees and regional bodies for July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
Well done. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Second that.
Can I make one comment about the committees? You know, I love our committee system. It's great. I love going to meetings. But what happens, you know, we report out on our committees at the end of this meeting usually, and that's the only time we really hear about the other committees. I think we need a better way, and I don't want to create more work for people, but I'd like to know what's going on in committee, maybe share the minutes or whatever we're doing that. And I would do the same, but I know you don't know a lot about our committees, and so just a little bit more of committee information sharing, I think, amongst us would really help.
Within the Brown Act.
Oh, Dean.
I think we can look at how to do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sean, I know
I'll work
you.
with the city manager. I think that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. It's a great suggestion.
Thank you. But
Thank you. And so
congratulations.
thank you. And we got a second from Lou. So Gabby, roll call, please.
Councilmember Cece?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Whoa. Vice Mayor Klein?
Yes.
Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Yes.
Thank you. So we're almost there. And so we have any reports or future agenda items, and we'll turn to our city manager who always kicks off this section.
I'll be short, stay cool, conserve water, but I do look forward to the coming year and what the new mayor, vice mayor, council, city, and community will achieve, and I'll leave it there so we can get across the street.
Thank you. Reports?
I haven't had a committee meeting since I've been there.
Okay.
In his brief biography just now, the mayor neglected to mention that 14 years ago he was my landlord, And I think we've all been there where after you move out of a place, you're like, God, I miss my landlord.
What do I gotta do to get more time with that guy? So,
I certainly wouldn't have run without knowing that I'd get some time with GP over here. That's all I got.
Nothing in particular other than to note that neighbors are asking when we will see progress on the Palestinian issue and Gaza issue.
Yes, thank you. And I would note, and I don't have with our community conversation dialogue that I agreed to report out on, there has been no change, although there is a very important consultation with our consultants next week, which then should begin to unfold the project. I have an agenda request, a future agenda request, if it's all right with the rest of the council. I'd like to get an update on the bridge project, where we are, what's going on, and you know, we're hearing issues, and I know it's a complex thing, but just like to hear where we are with all of that, if the rest of you are amenable to that.
Here, here.
Amendable.
Yep. All right, with that, you know what I'm looking for, and a motion to adjourn. I'll get my gavel.
I move that we adjourn this wonderful inaugurative meeting.
I second that.
Meeting adjourned.
Good job, Aaron. I'm really proud to serve with you.